Hello artists and welcome to Sculpture Level F. Let's get started. Alright, so today what I want to show you first is actually what we're going to be making, which is you're going to be making a three-dimensional letter today. Okay? With this one, this is both your mini art and your experiment. It is both. And if you make it nice enough, I will let you keep it and I will fire it. All right, so let's take a look at what our learning goals are today. It says, I can create and follow a plan. I can create and use a paper template. I can add clean details. I can add clean textures. I can create a 3D form, and I can slip and score correctly. All right, so what I've gone ahead and done here in my sketchbook is I've gotten my name, Sculpture Level F, and then again, today's experiment is also your mini art, and then I've drawn out the letter that I am going to be making today. You'll want to draw this three-dimensionally as well so you can see how that looks. All right, and then after you're done with your plan, and you might want to also draw on if you want any textures on your letter as well. Like on my K here, I've got some lovely flower details and textures, but you might want something different, or you might want a pre-texture, a pre-made texture, your choice. And then what I've gone ahead and done here is I've cut out a couple templates. I've gone ahead and grabbed a free draw paper, and just from the free draw bin, and I've just cut out my N here. What I've done is I've just used the short side, so I did not turn it up and I did not use the whole piece of paper. I just used part of the paper. All right, and then what I've also done is I've cut a strip of paper here, and I've measured it out so that it is 2 inches wide. So here on my ruler I can use 2 inches wide, and I've just cut out a strip that I'll use for later. All right, today we are going to be using a lot more clay than normal. Normally we just grab one ball of clay that fits nicely in our hands. Today you're going to need multiple of those. So just grab out one at a time. I'm going to use the first one, and we're going to go ahead and get a slab rolled out so that you can get your letter cut. You will need to cut it twice. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting this pancaked out. And then I'm going to start getting it rolled out. So remember, I go back and forth. I turn it every couple rolls or so. I'm looking for my railroad guides, right? If I'm not sure how big I'm looking, if I'm not sure how big I need to go or not, I can put my letter on here just to kind of see where we are. So I see it needs to be just a little bigger. So I'm going to keep getting that rolled out. Just like so. Remember, I will be done rolling my slab when it cannot go any thinner, and then I can go ahead and get my letter on. It should fit. I might need to move it around, but I can go ahead and use it like a cookie cutter. I'm going to use my feathering knife and the needle tool to go ahead and get these cut. Remember, I need to be safe with these. I'm going to save these pieces. I will want those pieces for later as we go. And I notice the end is really straight up top. So again, I'm going to use my rolling guides as a straight edge to get these nice straight edges on my N. Just like so. I'm going to finish getting this cut out, and I'm going to get the other one cut out. Movie magic. Alright, so I've gotten this all cut out. I'm going to remove my N. I'm just going to clean it up just a little bit here. There we go. And now that I have both of my sides of my letter cut out, I'm going to save all this stuff for later. I'm going to show you what to do again. So I've got 2 ends, 1 and 2, and I'm going to place those off to the side, and we're going to use them later. Okay, so what I need to do next is I need to wedge back together all this clay. See, I have all this clay that I've used, and now I need to get it back together in a ball. Right now I've got a bunch of air bubbles in the middle, so I'm going to teach you how to wedge. What I'm going to do here is I am going to kind of cup it with my hands, and I'm going to be pushing down to squish it really hard into a ball. I'm going to rock it back and forth as I'm squishing. And it's going to, you're going to notice my hands, the palm of my hands kind of by my thumbs come together. And when I'm pushing, I'm not squishing it on top of each other. I'm not just folding it and squishing it. What I am doing is rocking this back and forth and pushing down with the palms of my hands. As I'm doing that, what's going to happen here, you're going to notice that you get this arch here. It's called a ram's horn. It kind of looks like a sheep's head. But this, I'm going to keep doing this, and I might change directions as well from every now and again. But what I'm doing is squishing out all the air bubbles and making it so that the clay is nice and smooth again. I will do this until I don't see any lines in my clay anymore. And you might even notice that as you're squishing it out, from time to time you might see these little air pockets pop. That's a good thing. That means you're squishing out the air to make it nice and smooth again. All right, so I am also going to, because I'm going to use this part for my sides, I am going to keep, I'm going to get this all wedged together into a nice ball, and then we'll start getting that rolled out. Movie magic. All right, I've gotten this all wedged out, and I've even gone and kind of shaped it into a really long, thin strip here so that I can help it roll out, because we're going to roll it out into a really long, thin strip here with my other template. We're doing this because our shape is three-dimensional, and so here on the side of my K, I've got this 3D, and then it is hollow inside. So we are going to be making it hollow inside so it dries out properly. So now that I've got this long, thin strip, I'm going to grab those guides again, and I'm going to start going long this time when I roll this out. So I'm going to keep the guides fairly close to it, but I need to go long, and I might even need to, as I'm going along, keep kind of shaping it to that skinny as I'm going along. I don't need to slam it on the table, but I can help use the table to get it back into shape so it doesn't go too thin. So every now and again, I'm just going to kind of pick it up, kind of slightly put it on the table, and slightly slam it on the table to go really long. I'm going to finish getting this rolled out. Movie magic. All right, so I've gotten this all rolled out. It's really long and skinny. What I'm going to do now is start to cut this out with my paper. You can use this with a feathering knife. I'm going to use my guide here to make that straight edge. Okay, and as I go down, I'm going to, first actually what I'm going to do is mark it out with my needle tool. I'm not going to cut through, but I am just going to kind of mark out where we're going so that I can line this up every single time and cut as long of a strip as I can. So I'm gonna get this marked out all the way. I'm gonna have to keep moving my cookie cutter. Just kind of mark it out. Movie magic. Just finishing getting this marked out with my needle tool, and now that I'm here at the end, I'm going to go ahead and use my feathering knife to go ahead and cut this out. Movie magic. All right, so I actually went ahead and cut another strip out of my leftover clay. I wedged it together again, and I cut another strip, so I have one very extremely long strip here, and then I have a shorter strip just so I can make sure I have enough. What I'm going to do next is start to add textures. So I'm going to go ahead and take my ends. You'll notice that I flipped one the right side the right way, and I flipped one the wrong way because they're going to go together. One's going to go on the inside. So like eventually this side will go on the outside because this side will be on the inside. Okay, so what I'm going to do is add any textures I want. So I can do this with a texture plate. I could do drawn on textures. I could take the stylus that you'll find in level F bucket, and I could go ahead and draw on some textures as well, or I could draw some things on there. If I feel like this is not very smooth, we have here a smoothing tool. That's what this is, and we're just gonna take that, and you can gently, lightly kind of smooth it out as best you can. But we'll do that more later. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some of these textures added here, and that I want for my N. Movie magic. All right, I've gotten my textures on here. I'm just finishing getting it pulled up here, just nice and careful. Remember, we want nice, clear textures, but I also don't want to ruin my work. Okay, so then my backwards N, I'm gonna go ahead and flip it over, and this will be where I build everything off of. Okay, so now I need to go ahead and I need to start building the sides, and I'm gonna get this little piece out of there. Okay, sometimes the needle tool is really helpful for those really small spaces. Let's get you up better in the camera. There we go. All right, so now what I'm gonna do with my sides here, I need to start getting ready to slip and score. At this level, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna be scoring with the needle tool. You just wanna make sure you don't go too deep. So as you go around, I'm just on the very inside of my backwards end here. I'm just gonna go ahead and score. When I score, I need to make sure I go 2 directions. So I'm cross hatching here. So I'm making almost like little X's all down the sides. So movie magic. All right, so I've gotten all of this scored up. I've roughed up the surface, and now I also need to get the side of my slab also scored up. I'm going to start doing that as well. I'm just gonna lay it down here and start getting that scored up. Movie magic. All right, now that I've gotten that done, I'm gonna start getting some slip, and I'm gonna go ahead and just get the slip on my end here. I'd be careful of the outside, but it's okay if it goes on the inside. Remember that no one will see the inside, it will be hollow. So a little bit of movie magic here to get some slip on. All right, I've got this all slipped up, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start taking my lip here, and I'm gonna start carefully placing it so that the scored side is down on that slip. Now, because my letter is very straight, I am actually going to be like cutting through some pieces here. If your letter is kind of curvy, you might do this all in one piece. That's kind of your choice. So I'll show you the very first couple here. So just like I learned with my box, I can go straight down to cut out some pieces, but since mine's very geometrical here, I'm going to be kind of using some of these pieces and keeping them very straight. So here on the edges, when I go to do that, I'll need to make sure that I score the edges when I'm attaching pieces together and make sure that I get those slipped as well so that it stays. All right, a little bit of movie magic to get my sides on. All right, I'm just finishing getting this all slipped and scored together. I've just got one more part here. And remember, I'm doing my sides here. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of measure through where I need, and then I can kind of cut it. And being very careful with the needle tool here as I'm scoring and then getting my slip on. Remember, I've already got my slip on the bottom there. Because this took a little while, I am going to just get a little bit more there. If I find my slips drying out, no harm in getting some more iron. More glue, the better. And then I'm going to go ahead and get this in there, making sure that it's nice and one stuck there, two kind of squished together a little bit. All right. Now that I've got all this, I need to make sure that the other side is scored as well. Now, I've already done that, so now what I'll need to do is take the other, I'll need to flip over my in, and I'll need to get the other side all scored on the inside as well. All right, movie magic. All right, I've got this all scored up, and now I'm gonna start getting that slip on. I'm actually gonna put it on this on the side of it, and then I'm going to be putting this on top of. This is a multiple day project. This will take you more than one day, and it's okay if you have to cut out pieces and then leave them to kind of dry. When you're putting these slabs together to structurally hold, It is actually helpful if they're not super wet, but actually slightly dry. Also, for my little corner here, I'm going to just get some slip on there and make sure that's all sealed up on the inside. But it is helpful if if they dry out for like slightly dry out for a little bit, not to the point where they're completely dry, but we call it leather hard when it's able to stand up on its own, keep its shape, and not move like the outside of my end here. So that is actually very helpful when doing this. You'll just need to make sure your pieces are labeled so you know whose are whose in the big clay bucket. Movie magic. All right, so now that I've got all this slipped up, I've got my ends scored, I'm going to go ahead and get it on. Now, I'm going to have to finagle it just a little bit so that it will be the size that I want. So I'm just going to have to squish it in just a little bit, and that's okay. It's all right. All right, so I'm going to get that finagled here with a little bit more movie magic. It ended up having to actually cut off a little bit on the edge and just make a tiny little slab again to get in here and just kind of redo it because it was just a little long for what I wanted. And that happens. That's okay. That's called finagling, and that's called problem solving, and that is completely okay. So now that I've got that, oops, I forgot this side because I tried to stick it down. Let's score that again. There we go. Now I can get that on there. Nice and tight. There we are. I want to be careful that when I'm touching this, I'm not touching the tops too much because I have all that wonderful texture. All right, now that I'm at this point, I need to do something to the bottom. One, I'm going to take that smoother tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to gently take it to use the flat surface to smooth the bottom of my letter where it's going to stand up. And I'm going to just do that here really quickly to get that nice smooth texture. It's going to even it up, and then it's also going to make it look really nice. Just being careful of where I'm touching for the texture. And then on the bottom, I need to cut with my needle tool through a hole, 2 holes on the bottom, and then I need to get my name and class code. So I've got that cut, and I'm going to do the other one. This is so that the inside can dry out as well because it's hollow. We don't want all of our hard work to go wasted. So just like this one, we're going to cut the holes in the bottom here so that it can dry out correctly. And now I should be able to stand it up and kind of give it a little smush so that it'll stand how I want it to. Not too much. You still have to be kind of gentle. I'm going to take my smoothing tool here and I'm going to go through on the edges, and I'm just going to give it a nice smooth so those seams match up. If I find my clay is really, really soft and it's hard to smooth it with the harder tool, there are blue ones that are softer. Those might be a little easier to work with. But I'm just going to go ahead and get that smoothed out. At this point, I could also add in textures on the side as well. I could draw in some textures. Otherwise, if it's nice enough, Mrs. Nichols will fire it. Happy creating!